Good evening, I'm Joel Labi in Hong Kong. Welcome to ViuTV News. Coming up on tonight's show, the latest on Liu Xiaobo. Hospital says doctors are actively rescuing the Nobel laureate who is in critical condition. 3 workers killed in a fatal accident at a roadworks site in Hong Kong. And a takeover offer too good to refuse for Hong Kong's prized shipping company. More on what this means for the future of Orient overseas. And we begin with cancer-stricken Nobel Prize laureate Liu Xiaobo, who's believed to be in critical condition, and doctors are actively rescuing him. The hospital he's being treated in says Liu's tumour has grown and his kidneys are not functioning well. Liu is also said to be suffering from other conditions, including bleeding in his liver, peritonitis and a drop in blood pressure. The hospital added it is unsuitable for Liu to receive radiotherapy treatment and recommended blood purification treatment instead. This is, however, different from foreign experts' medical advice. They've suggested radiotherapy. The experts who've assessed Liu have reportedly already left Shenyang. To local news now, and a fatal industrial accident in Hong Kong. 3 construction workers have died after falling into a deep pit at a roadworks site. It happened at about 2:30 p.m. after a sewer pipe burst and flooded the hole. The Construction Industry Employees General Union chairman believes the trio, aged between 23 and 49, had been spraying cement before they drowned. More than 100 firefighters were at the scene trying to rescue the victims, one of whom was found about 2 hours later. He died shortly after. Hong Kong is hitting back at criticism. It's lagging behind other so-called smart cities here in Asia, rolling out its proposal to lawmakers on how to smarten up. It covers 6 areas, including mobility, living, environment, people, government and the economy. Some of the suggestions put forward include offering different types of digital payments and developing fintech. It also includes proposals to build smart hospitals, as well as green and intelligent buildings. The development comes after the government commissioned a study on improving the city's management. A blueprint on the plan is expected to be drawn up by late next year. Now, earlier I spoke with our reporter Evelina Leung and asked how far Hong Kong is lagging behind other countries in terms of technology.
According to some experts and analysts that I have spoken to, Hong Kong is lagging greatly behind other cities or countries, including Singapore. Let me give you several examples. Since 2008, Singapore has in place these electronic signboards, which tells drivers where there are available parking spaces. And this data is also available on phone apps. Now, apart from benefiting drivers, the government also uses technology to improve people's livelihoods and also ensure the safety of the elderly in Singapore. For example, there is a system called Sound Eye in place in nursing homes to alert care providers if an elderly person has fallen down. Also in place in nursing homes are something called smart mats, which are mattresses that monitors the heart rate and breathing of the elderly and sends real-time data to the nurses so they'll know if the elderly is actually in danger. And you don't see any of this technology here in Hong Kong.
News elsewhere now, and US President Donald Trump is once again backtracking, this time on a proposal to launch a joint cybersecurity unit with Russia. His fellow Republican members have scorned the idea, saying Moscow just can't be trusted. Our Grace Lee has the details.
A sudden U-turn from U.S. President Donald Trump over a cybersecurity deal with Russia on Sunday. In the span of 12 hours, 2 of his tweets sparking backlash from both lawmakers and experts alike. First, floating the idea of a joint unit to protect against cyber attacks after meeting with Vladimir Putin at the G20, and then dismissing it after even fellow Republicans voiced disbelief. Senator Lindsey Graham saying, quote, "It's not the dumbest idea I have ever heard, but it's pretty close." Others pointing to the ongoing investigation into alleged Russian hacking during the 2016 election. Ex-Defense Secretary Ash Carter chiming in, "This is like the guy who robbed your house proposing a working group on burglary." Now, a different tune from Trump, trying to play down the deal and tweeting out that the cyber unit can't happen. The president has repeatedly dismissed and questioned the claims that Russia interfered in the election.
Nobody really knows. Nobody really knows for sure.
Trump says he pressed Putin on the subject at last week's meeting and that the Russian president vehemently denied it.
Well, just days after what was a highly anticipated meeting between Donald Trump and Russian President Vladimir Putin, new details have emerged, again linking the president's campaign with Moscow. The New York Times is reporting, saying Donald Trump Jr. agreed to meet with a Kremlin-tied lawyer during the 2016 run for the presidency after he was promised damaging information about Hillary Clinton. Quoting a statement from Trump Jr., the report says he admitted meeting Russian lawyer Natalia Veselnitskaya, who told him she had information people connected to Russia were funding the Democratic National Committee and supporting Clinton. Trump's legal team says the president was, quote, not aware of and did not attend the meeting. The political winds are certainly shifting in Japan. Prime Minister Shinzo Abe will unveil a new-look cabinet in the coming weeks after his voter support crashed to a fresh low. Our Tokyo correspondent Mayu Yoshida has the latest surrounding the scandal-hit leader.
Japanese Prime Minister Shinzo Abe will reshuffle his cabinet and party leaders early next month to win back public trust. That's after Abe suffered humiliating defeat in Tokyo's assembly election last week. Now keep in mind that Abe's support rate is now at the lowest level since late 2012. His government went under fire due to a favoritism scandal. Now the scandal first became public in May after local reports here claimed there were internal documents from the Education Ministry regarding the opening of a university department. This caught public attention because the last such approval was made more than 50 years ago. Opposition lawmakers are now accusing the Prime Minister and his party whether they favored the school operator, who happens to be a close friend to the Prime Minister. On Monday, former Vice Education Minister Kihei Maekawa testified that Abe's office was clearly involved in the approval process. Maekawa is the latest whistleblower to raise questions about Abe's behind-the-scenes dealing. Abe, by the way, has repeatedly denied doing any favors to the school operator.
Well, thousands of Iraqi civilians are savouring a moment of peace after the country's armed forces wrestled the city of Mosul from Islamic State. Waving Iraqi national flags, soldiers danced and pointed guns in the air to signal an end to jihadist rule in the old city. Victory here comes after nearly 9 months of urban warfare following Mosul's capture by IS 2 years ago. The occupation displaced almost 1 million people there and left the city in ruins. Iraqi Prime Minister Haider al-Abadi has joined in the celebrations. He arrived in Mosul yesterday, congratulating the Iraqi forces for their efforts. The defeat for ISIS is a major blow for the Sunni Islamist group. This was the largest city to fall under the militants' control. It's also losing ground in the Syrian city of Raqqa, where it's planned global attacks in the past. But further strikes are expected, with insurgent bombings likely as its self-proclaimed caliphate falls apart. Well, stay with us. The latest from the world of business coming up next. Well, Hong Kong stocks have shrugged off last week's woes to claw back some much-needed lost ground. The Hang Seng Index finishing up 0.6% to 25,500. Investors buoyed by Wall Street's gains on Friday on the back of better-than-expected US jobs figures. Industrials and technology led the way on the local market, with Tencent up almost 1%. Now, another reason for today's share market bounce, a big play in the shipping industry. Chinese giant COSCO has made a lucrative bid to buy its Hong Kong rival, Orient Overseas International. Now, the deal is worth something like $6 billion, and if it goes ahead, it would make COSCO the world's third largest shipping company. The companies had actually been discussing and dismissing merger rumours earlier in the year, but now all that's standing in the way of this is approval from regulators. OOIL's majority owner accepted the bid late last week. Both firms are also part of the Ocean Alliance partnership, formed last year to take on the rival grouping of Maersk Line and MSC. The world's biggest private property developer is selling off Chinese tourism projects and hotels in one of the biggest real estate deals in Chinese history. Dalian Wanda is offloading the developments to Sunak for more than $9 billion. Now, this deal includes most of the group's theme parks and leisure complexes, as well as 76 hotels. The move is likely to help Wanda cut its debt pile after being delisted in Hong Kong last year. Inflation rates in China are holding steady. The country's consumer price index rose 1.5% in June from a year earlier, which is in line with market expectations. Now, food prices, which had been making up the biggest slice of that index, also fell for the third month in a row. China's producer price inflation was unchanged for June at 5.5%, though some analysts feel the figures confirm economic growth is largely cooling. There's been a seismic green shift in the auto world of late, and more companies are prepared to do away with traditional motors for electricity. The announcements have sent a high-voltage shock through the industry, and as Laura Freakberg reports, it's forcing the makers of gas guzzlers to take a serious look at their business models.
It may still tail Tesla, but Volvo's move towards going green appears to be part of a major change of direction for the industry and those who legislate it. France announcing on Friday that by 2040 it too will end diesel and petrol vehicle sales and become carbon neutral 10 years after that.
We want to make France #1 in the green economy, making the Paris Climate Agreement an opportunity for creativity, innovation and employment.
France may have taken a leaf out of China's book. One of its battery makers, which sells to Volkswagen, is buying up to 20,000 tons of cobalt from mining giant Glencore, a key ingredient for batteries used to power electric vehicles. But some warn the industry's break from fossil fuels could be stalled.
What you do need is an infrastructure. The amount that has been spent for one to be able to fill one's car with the energy that is required, they're just not there.
Neither are sales at Tesla's larger